Okay, so strap yourselves in because today we're diving headfirst into a world of, well, flying cars, artificial humans, and some seriously, seriously dark corners of the human psyche.
Sounds intense.
It is. It is. You know Blade Runner,
Of course, classic.
right? Both of them, the 82 original and 2049.
Yeah, yeah.
So you sent in some analysis of Blade Runner and how it connects with, get this, the Gothic genre.
Oh, interesting.
I know, right? When I first watched it, like years ago, Gothic was not the first thing I thought of.
No, not really.
But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, whoa, is there something there?
Yeah, it's kind of sneaky like that. You get so caught up in the cyberpunk and the dystopia that the gothic elements kind of like creep up on you.
Exactly. And speaking of creepy, we got to talk about that visual style.
Hmm.
Your analysis really focused on the look of Blade Runner, and I think you're spot on. Like that
Oh.
constantly rain-soaked, decaying Los Angeles.
It's practically a character in itself, right?
Totally. But it's not just a backdrop. It feels like it's mirroring what the characters are going through internally. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, think about those massive crumbling skyscrapers, those like vast empty spaces. It's classic Gothic imagery.
Mhm.
In Gothic literature, decay like that always symbolizes something deeper, something rotten, like societal rot, moral decay, or even spiritual.
Ooh, that's deep. And your source material mentioned the Tyrell Corporation building, right?
Yeah,
It's like a Gothic cathedral.
totally. A symbol of power, but it's also weirdly sterile and empty, right?
Yes. It's almost like a mausoleum for human ambition.
Exactly. And that actually connects to another big Gothic element.
Riches.
The past, the presence of the past. Blade Runner might be set in the future, but it's totally haunted by, like, ghosts of what came before.
Whoa, like what?
Well, think about the off-world colonies, right? This promise of escape that just turned into another form of decay and exploitation.
That is pretty haunting when you think about it that way. But speaking of haunting, we had to talk about the replicants.
Oh, yeah. They're the heart of it, aren't they?
Totally. The source material kept using the word uncanny to describe them, and I think that's perfect. It's more than just, like, creepy robot,
Right.
right? What is it about replicants that taps into that deep existential dread that we find in Gothic literature?
Good question. I think it's that blurring of lines between human and not human.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, that scene in the original where Deckard is giving Rachel the Voight-Kampff test?
Yeah, yeah.
He's trying to determine if she's a replicant by measuring her emotional responses, but it's like so agonizing to watch because she seems so real,
Nice.
so vulnerable. And the uncanny, I think, is all about that feeling of something being both familiar and deeply alien at the same time.
Ugh, it's so unsettling. And that's where the comparison to, like, Frankenstein's monster comes in, right? Your source material was all over that.
Yeah, totally. And it makes sense.
So what is it about the replicant's experience that makes that comparison so powerful?
Yeah.
Like, what are the parallels?
Well, take Roy Batty, for example, right?
Yeah.
He's incredibly strong, intelligent, but he's trapped in a body with an expiration date, right?
Yeah.
He's searching for his creator, yearning for, like, more life.
Right.
And he faces his death with this mix of rage and despair. That's classic doomed creature, right? A figure who's often monstrous, but also tragic.
Right, totally. It's like they're cursed with consciousness almost.
Yeah, and they're forced to grapple with these huge questions of, like, existence and purpose.
Exactly. And that leads to something else. Your source material highlighted those themes of mortality, memory, and lost time.
Oh, for sure. Those are all so central to the Gothic.
And to Blade Runner, too. But how do they play out specifically with the replicants?
Well, their whole quest to understand their origins, right?
Yeah.
Their implanted memories, the way they cling to photographs, the way they're trying to piece together their pasts. It's all deeply Gothic.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
Like, Gothic lit is obsessed with time, with the fear of oblivion, the way the past keeps haunting us. And for replicants, with their, like, artificially shortened lifespans, those anxieties are even more intense.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it seems like Blade Runner is using this futuristic sci-fi world to explore very human, very Gothic anxieties.
Totally. It's like, it's not about spaceships and lasers. It's about what it means to be human in a world where technology is pushing those boundaries further and further.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, are there other stories out there that are doing this kind of genre blending?
Oh, tons. We're seeing, like, a resurgence of Gothic sensibilities in a lot of modern storytelling. Some people call it neo-Gothic.
Neo-Gothic. I like that.
Yeah, think of a show like Westworld, for example.
Okay. Yeah.
It's sci-fi, it's Western, but it's also got those deep Gothic explorations of identity, free will.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's playing with the same kinds of anxieties about what it means to be human in a world where technology is advancing so rapidly.
It's amazing how those anxieties can, like, transcend time periods and genres.
Exactly.
This deep dive has been awesome, I have to say. I feel like I understand Blade Runner on a whole new level.
Glad to hear it. Always fun to explore these ideas.
It really has been. And for everyone listening, here's a question to chew on. If Blade Runner is, like, updating the Gothic for a technological age, what anxieties of our time might future stories explore through this lens? Will it be, like, fear of climate collapse, the rise of surveillance, or something we haven't even imagined yet? Definitely something to think about.